welcome to the University of Guelph Arboretum. My name is Kitty. And my name is Jenny.
I'm Jillian.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Tatiana.
And today we're going to do a big collaboration with the folks over at Creative Encounters. So if this is your first time to these videos, Kitty and I were the Naturalist Interns here at the Arboretum.
And I'm the summer naturalist at the Arboretum.
And we both are STEM instructors at Creative Encounters. So we have our Camp in a Box number 4, which will be sent out very soon, and our theme is Natural Explorers. And so we're actually going to be sending some fun things out for your children to interact with nature, and we're looking at animal habitats. So we thought it would be a great idea to come out and hang out with our friends here from the Arboretum to teach us a little bit about habitats and get all of that on video for you.
And we're so excited. There's lots of cool habitats here in the Arboretum. We're going to visit a couple of different animals in those habitats, so let's jump right in. You see this little spider on the web?
Oh my goodness, I totally do.
Yeah, this is a spider called the orchard orb weaver, and it likes to weave a web called the orb web, just like you see here. So that's exactly like the spider webs you would picture on Halloween, with the circles going all around. That's what we call an orb web. And why do you think spiders like this might make a web?
To catch food?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So some spiders will spin silk out of their butts, and they will make these big webs just like this. And some of the silk strands are sticky, so they're gonna lie in wait and they're gonna hold their arms and legs out on the web. Sometimes they're in the center like this orchard orb weaver. Sometimes they're hidden on the side just holding onto the silk strands. And if a little insect, like maybe a mosquito, flies into that web, those sticky strands are gonna get caught up in that insect and they're gonna float around and get stuck. And you know what? That spider, it's gonna notice that movement in the silk strands, and it's gonna move really quickly towards the caught insect, and it's gonna bite it and then wrap it up in silk and have it for dinner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Are they the only spiders that make this kind of web?
Well, there are different species of spiders and they can make all sorts of different webs. So some spiders definitely make orb webs like this, like we're used to seeing. Some spiders make like tangled webs that are just a whole mess of silk strands, and some spiders don't even make any webs at all. Yeah. So we have some spiders like a crab spider maybe. They actually don't build a web, and they'll actually lie in wait on a plant.
Ooh.
Yeah, sometimes they could be fun colors like yellow or pink to help blend into the flowers they're trying to hide in, and they're what we call ambush predators. So they're gonna lie in wait on this plant, and they're gonna wait really still for maybe the perfect little insect to prance on by. And when they pass by this crab spider, they're gonna jump out with their arms outstretched, catch the insect, and gobble it up for dinner. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome for sure.
Now this is what we call an ambush predator, but that's not even the only way that spiders can hunt. We've already discussed, spiders hunt with their webs, spiders can hunt by ambush, but we also have what we call active hunters.
Ooh.
Yeah, so some spiders called jumping spiders, because of their really awesome ability to jump really far distances, they're active hunters. So you have these two big eyes in the front of their face that are really big and really good for seeing. So they can use those eyes to watch around them for delicious insects to eat. And they'll chase those insects down, sometimes even jump on them, and then gobble them up for a meal. So those are active hunters.
Hey.
Yeah, so a lot of people think spiders build webs, but that's not necessarily true. But whether spiders build webs or not, or whether they're ambush hunters or active hunters, spiders are really important in our environment, because I'm sure that you have seen a spider maybe one time and got a little bit surprised, right?
Yes.
A little bit scared maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
many times.
So some people, if they don't know a lot about spiders, maybe they don't like them too much and they're a little bit scared of them. But spiders, they have such an important role in our ecosystem because, of course, they eat lots of tiny things and a lot of insects, like mosquitoes. You don't always like too many mosquitoes hanging around because they can give us itchy bites, but mosquitoes are great food for animals like spiders, and spiders are really good at keeping insect populations like this under control. Because they eat these insects, they don't let too many mosquitoes out and around, so they're really good at keeping prey populations under control, and they do a really important part in our ecosystem. So make sure the next time you see a little spider like this, take a closer look. Don't be scared because they can't hurt you, and thank them for doing such a good job.
Thank you, spider.
We're here at another little habitat at our Gosling Wildlife Garden. So you can see right over here, we have this little stream feature. And there's lots of frogs you can see hanging out in the water. And we've actually borrowed one for our little segment here today because water features are amazing habitats for all sorts of creatures, including this. Now, when you catch a frog, right, there's a certain way to hold them. We don't want to hurt them.
For sure.
Yeah, so do you want to learn to hold a frog today?
I would love to. I would love to.
Amazing! And you know, the first step of learning to hold a frog properly is to make sure that you don't have sunscreen or bug spray on your hands. So
no, I have nothing on my hands. Okay.
So for all of you out there, if you have bug spray or sunscreen in your hands, make sure you wash them before you hold a frog, just because they are so sensitive and their skin is semi-permeable. That means they can absorb a lot of things really easily through their skin. So if you have chemicals and you're holding them, then that's really not super healthy for them. So we just want to make sure we're safe.
Okay.
So are you ready?
I guess I'm ready. Sure.
All right, so what we're gonna do is, what you can do for a frog is his legs are super strong, made for jumping.
Okay.
So we're gonna actually hold his legs back, and you can pin his legs back like this, just by his hips, gently but firmly.
Okay.
And that would mean that he can't jump away, but we're not gonna be hurting him. So do you wanna give that a try?
Okay, I think. Just like that?
You got it.
Okay.
Feeling good about it?
Feeling good.
Perfect, and there you go, you're holding a frog. Super fun. Now, this little guy is what we call a green frog. If you look at his colors, does he look super green?
Super. Actually, there's a lot of different colors I see.
Yeah, no, you're right, for sure. So with a name like green frog, you may expect it to look super green, because that's what they're named after.
Makes sense.
But he doesn't do a good job of showing this. And if you see other green frogs in the wild, they come in all sorts of different colors. You know, they can come in brown, they can be green, they can be more bronzy like this. So green frog really is not a super great name for these frogs. But there's a couple ways you can tell that this is a green frog.
Okay.
Right? So one of the ways is you can look at range. If you're ever trying to ID a species, range is really important. Like if you're somewhere where green frogs don't live, you can pretty much rule that out. Like here in Ontario, we have a certain number of frog species. If we're catching a frog, then we can rule out a bunch of other, like more tropical species just because we know they're not around.
Yes.
But green frogs, one of their distinctive things is, even though they're not all green, a lot of them, they have this kind of bright green lip, this upper lip.
Yes.
So we can see that's where sometimes the green shows through. You're doing a great job holding him, by the way. He's very secure, and he looks very safe, so that's awesome. And another feature of green frogs is what we call lateral folds.
Okay.
So that's just a fancy way of saying down his back he has these two little bumpy lines. Lateral fold sounds a little fancier, easier to impress your friends with at the dinner table. But that's what kind of tells us this is a green frog.
Okay.
And frogs are such amazing creatures, you know. I feel like a lot of kids grew up watching frogs, maybe even catching them in their backyard and stuff. And they have all these amazing adaptations for what they are.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times when we think of vertebrate animals, you know, we think of animals that grow like us, you know, we start out like a mini adult and we just get a little bit bigger each day. But frogs, a lot of amphibians are cool in that they kind of do a metamorphosis, kind of like you would imagine a butterfly, where the baby stage is super different from the adult stage.
Okay.
So, do you know what frogs start out as? Yeah, it is! So we found these tiny little tadpoles in the water, this funny bulbous head and a little tail, and they swim around and they grow and they grow. And as adults, when they're ready to become adults, they grow legs, they absorb that tail back in the body, and they become something that looks like this. So it's kind of a crazy life cycle to think about, and they're awesome to see around because remember how we talked about frogs are so sensitive with their skin?
Yes.
Right? That means that they're so sensitive in their habitat as well. Things you want to remember when you catch animals and visit them in nature is you want to release them afterwards, right? So we've released our frog back in this pond. we definitely want to make sure we do that because remember we talked a little bit earlier about how frogs are so sensitive, right?
Yes.
So we want to make sure we don't have anything to their hands.
Okay.
Well, it also means that they're really sensitive to their environment, to their habitat. So it's amazing to see so many frogs in a little area like this because that tells us that this water is nice and clean, the habitat is nice and healthy for them.
Yes.
If it wasn't, their sensitivities will make it really hard for them to survive in like a very polluted habitat, which is why it's so amazing. If you visit a pond and you see lots of frogs, that means it's a good place to be.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, so we're going to talk about caterpillar habitat. So in this tree we have a few different caterpillars that like to eat it, but especially this one. He hides in this little tiny hole with some silk around it. This is our silver spotted skipper, and when you open it, which I'm going to try to do right now, they usually move their head around as a defense mechanism. He's showing his red neck to try to scare me away because he thinks I'm a predator. And you can also notice inside of his little home, there's no poop. So I wonder where it goes. The little tail at the end, if you look close, he has like a little scoop. And he just takes that poop and flings it out of the nest. So,
Smart guy.
Yeah, so the predator won't know where he is because there's no poop near it.
And does it harm them when we open up their cocoon?
No, they will remake their nest so that they are safe again.
So is a cocoon different from a nest?
So this is his nest, so where he's gonna live. A cocoon is after he's done at this stage, after he's done at caterpillar stage, he'll weave a cocoon, which is silk covering him, his little goo sack that he turns into a moth or a butterfly.
Cool.
Alright, so summer is the season of one of my favorite insects of all time, the dragonfly. And we actually have one in the net right now, so hopefully we'll get him out and have a good look at him. But when you're catching bugs, I've caught him already in this net. What I usually do is I keep the net upside down over the rim of the net so it keeps it nice and close, it can't escape while we plan our next move. And when we retrieve them, we're actually going to keep the net upside down. Because a lot of insects, their instinct is if they're scared, they're going to fly up and away. Okay. So we keep the net upside down, he tries to fly up and away, he's just going to hit more net. So that way we don't lose him. So we're going to try and get him out here. Here we go, perfect. So here's our little friend.
Wow.
So this is a type of dragonfly called a meadowhawk. So they have these, the males have these bright red bodies. They're a smaller dragonfly and they tend to be a little late flying. You tend to find them a little later in the summer than some of the other types of dragonflies, but they're super pretty. And what we can do is, if you want, we can learn how to hold a dragonfly today, the safe way to hold a dragonfly.
Okay.
And here's what we're gonna do. So there's two safe ways to hold it.
Okay.
So one way that I'll get you to try is what I'm doing right now. You can pin the wings back and together and just firmly hold them together like that. Then they can't fly away.
Okay.
Another way is what you can do is you can put your finger underneath him and he's gonna hold on his little legs and I'm gonna bring my thumb over and grab hold of at least two.
Okay.
3 even get them is perfect, but my thumb's a little small.
Okay.
So we'll grab 2 of his legs, hold them gently but firmly, and that way you can release his wings. You can have a good look at the top of his body, which is helpful if you're trying to ID a dragonfly.
Okay.
The meadowhawks are a very tricky group of dragonflies, so a lot of times you have to look really closely at their genitalia to properly ID them as species. So we won't get into that today, we'll just call him a meadowhawk.
Okay.
But if you want to try holding him,
What do you think is easiest? Which way?
we can do both ways.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
how do I...
let's do the wings actually first, that way it might be easiest to start with. That's perfect. So over and then squeeze gently together. That's perfect. Amazing! There you go, holding your dragonfly.
Amazing.
And do you want to try the other way?
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll put your finger right underneath and you see how it kind of holds on like that?
Yeah.
You can bring your thumb over and pinch at least 2 of his legs. Oh, you can get all 3. Perfect.
Nice.
And you can hold him like this too and he's secure this way. You're not hurting him.
Okay.
And you can have an amazing look at him. And dragonflies are so cool. You see a lot of amazing things about these guys. For example, their wings are amazing for fast flying. These guys are so fast. Catching them can sometimes be a bit tricky, as we learned a little earlier. But they actually are, believe it or not, very primitive in their kind of flight patterns and how their flight works. So they are one of the first insects ever to evolve flight, believe it or not.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so their wings don't work the same as a more modern insect like a bee or a fly. So they have what we call a synchronous flight. That means every time one muscle gets innervated, there's one nerve impulse, their wings can beat once.
Wow.
So that means they can't reach as fast wing beat speed as a more modern insect like a fly, which has asynchronous flight. So one nerve impulse can lead a fly to flap its wings multiple times.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean these guys are any less, even though they're more maybe basic.
Yes.
These guys are amazing hunters, super fast, and they are predators.
Everyone, well, thank you so much for following along with us today, and thank you to our team from the Arboretum for all of their knowledge and their passion that they shared with us. We hope that you learned something and that you can share that with your friends and family as well. All right, see you later.
Bye. Bye.